Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiant and watched the giant screen in front of her. The broadcast was coming from the Galactic Council headquarters, millions of light-years away from Earth. Every human ship, every colony, every person on Earth was watching the same thing. The Velthari High Speaker stood at the center of the council chamber. He was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. His species had ruled the council for 300 years. Behind him sat representatives from 12 different alien civilizations. They controlled thousands of star systems. They had technologies that humans could only dream about, and they were laughing. "The humans have submitted another petition for full membership," the High Speaker said. His voice was cold and mocking. "This is their 60th attempt in 60 years. Laughter filled the chamber. Some of the aliens did not even try to hide their amusement. The Keth representative, a massive creature covered in scales, slammed his fist on his desk in what passed for applause among his people. "We have reviewed their application," the High Speaker continued. "And once again, we must deny it. Humanity is simply not ready. They are young. They are primitive. They are evolutionary accidents who learn to build ships by copying our designs." More laughter. Sarah felt her hands tighten into fists at her sides. "They will remain on probationary status. The restrictions will continue. No faster than light travel beyond their home system. No weapons above Class 2 level. No colonization rights. No voice in council matters." The High Speaker smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Perhaps in another 100 years, they will have grown enough to deserve a seat at our table. Perhaps not." The broadcast ended. The bridge of the Defiant was silent. Sarah looked at her crew. She saw anger on their faces. She saw shame. She saw the same helpless frustration she had seen for her entire career. 60 years. Humanity had been a probationary member of the Galactic Council for 60 years. It was the longest probation in the history of the Council. Other species had been granted full membership in 10 years, sometimes less. But not humans. Never humans. Sarah remembered her grandfather's stories. He had been alive when humanity first made contact with alien life. He had been so hopeful. He had believed that joining the galactic community would bring peace and prosperity to Earth. He had died still believing that things would get better. They never did. The communication panel on her console lit up. A secure channel. Sarah recognized the encryption code immediately. It was from Earth Command. She stepped into her private office and accepted the call. Admiral Marcus Vance appeared on the screen. He was 63 years old, with gray hair cut short and a face full of scars from battles fought long ago. He had served in the border conflicts of 2301, when a minor alien species had attacked human mining ships just to prove they could. The Council had done nothing to help. Vance had never forgotten that. "Captain Chen," he said. His voice was calm, but Sarah knew him well enough to see the anger in his eyes. "Admiral, I assume you watched the broadcast." "I did." Vance paused. "They seized 3 more of our cargo ships in the neutral zone yesterday. They claimed we were violating treaty regulations. Our ships were carrying food and medicine to the Mars colonies." Sarah closed her eyes. "Let me guess. The Council ruled in their favor." "Of course they did. They always do." Vance leaned forward. "In 60 years, we have followed every rule. We have obeyed every restriction. We have bowed and scraped and begged for scraps from their table. And what has it gotten us? Nothing. Less than nothing. D. What can we do, sir? They have thousands of ships. We have a few hundred. They have weapons that can destroy planets. We have what they think we have," Vance interrupted. "They think we have been building defenseless cargo ships and passenger transports. They think we have spent 60 years doing exactly what they told us to do." Sarah felt something change in the air. She had known Admiral Vance for 15 years. She had never heard him speak like this before. "Sir, report to Earth Command, Captain. Immediately. There is something you need to see." Vance's eyes were hard now, filled with a cold fire. "The Council thinks they know everything about us. They never bothered to ask what we have been building underneath their noses." The call ended. Sarah stood alone in her office for a long moment, her mind racing. She had spent her entire career following orders, playing by the rules, hoping that one day humanity would earn the respect it deserved. Now she was beginning to wonder if that day would ever come through peaceful means. She returned to the bridge. Her first officer, Lieutenant Commander James Park, looked at her with concern. "Captain, is everything all right?" Sarah looked at the view screen. Earth hung in the distance, a small blue marble surrounded by the vast darkness of space. Her home. The home of 8 billion people who had been told again and again that they were not good enough, not advanced enough, not worthy of respect. "Set a course for Earth Command," she said. "Maximum speed." "Yes, Captain." "May I ask what this is about?" Sarah thought about her grandfather. She thought about all the humans who had lived and died under the Council's shadow, always hoping for better days that never came. She thought about the laughter in that council chamber. "I think," she said slowly, "that we are about to find out what humanity has been doing for the past 60 years. And I think the Council is not going to like the answer." The Defiant turned toward Earth and accelerated into the darkness. Behind them, the stars burned cold and distant. They were the same stars that the Council controlled, the same stars that humanity had been forbidden to visit. But perhaps not for much longer. Sarah Chen did not know what waited for her at Earth Command. She did not know about Project Prometheus, or the secret fleet, or the weapons that would change everything. But she felt something in her heart that she had not felt in years. Hope. And underneath the hope, something else. Something darker and more powerful. Something that had been building in humanity for 60 years of mockery and humiliation. Anger. The Council had laughed at Earth for the last time. They just did not know it yet. The transport ship descended through dark waters. Sarah Chen watched through the small window as the ocean grew darker and darker around them. They had already passed the depth where sunlight could reach. Now there was only blackness and the faint glow of strange deep-sea creatures. She had never been to this place before. She had never even known it existed. The coordinates Admiral Vance had given her pointed to a location deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of Earth's seas, the perfect place to hide something. The transport finally stopped descending. Sarah saw lights ahead, growing brighter as they approached. Then the walls of the underwater station came into view, and she felt her breath catch in her throat. It was enormous. The structure stretched for miles in every direction, carved into the rock of the ocean floor. Massive doors opened to let their transport inside, and Sarah found herself in a hangar bigger than any she had ever seen. And it was full of ships. Not the small cargo vessels that humanity was allowed to build. Not the transport ships with their weak engines and limited range. These were warships. Real warships. Hundreds of them, lined up in perfect rows, their hulls gleaming under the artificial lights. Admiral Vance was waiting for her when she stepped off the transport. He wore a simple uniform with no medals or decorations. His face was calm, but his eyes held that same cold fire she had seen during their call. "Welcome to Project Prometheus, Captain Chen." Sarah could not speak. She walked forward slowly, staring at the ships around her. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Sleek designs, powerful weapons mounted on their hulls, engines that looked nothing like anything she had ever seen. "How?" she finally managed to ask. "How is this possible? The treaties forbid us from building warships. The Council monitors everything we do." End quote. One quote. "Also monitors everything we do." Vance smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "They monitor what we show them." They see our cargo ships and our civilian transports. They see exactly what we want them to see. He began to walk, and Sarah followed. They passed ship after ship, each one more impressive than the last. For 60 years, we have publicly followed every treaty restriction, Vance explained. Every cargo ship we built had a secondary hull hidden inside. Every mining colony was also a weapons laboratory. Every communications satellite was also a spy drone. He stopped in front of the largest ship in the hangar. The council thought we were weak. They thought we were stupid. They never considered that we might be playing a different game entirely. Sarah stared at the ship before her. It was massive. At least 3 times the size of the Defiant. Its weapons systems were unlike anything in the Council's fleet. "This is the Prometheus Rising," Vance said. "Our first true warship. Quantum-fold engines that can cross the galaxy in hours instead of months. Antimatter warheads that can crack a planet in half." He paused. "And something we call the Scalpel." "The Scalpel?" "A weapon that can disable an entire enemy fleet from a distance of 1 light year. It attacks their power systems directly. No shields can stop it. No armor can protect against it. 1 pulse, and every ship in range goes completely dark." Sarah felt dizzy. Everything she thought she knew about humanity's position in the galaxy was wrong. They were not weak. They were not helpless. They had been preparing for this moment for 6 decades. "How many ships do we have?" she asked. "In this facility, 300. In hidden bases across the solar system and neutral space, another 3,000, plus weapons platforms, defense stations, and automated drones." Vance turned to face her directly. "We have been building an army, Captain. An army that the Council knows nothing about." Sarah's mind raced with questions. "Why now? Why are you showing me this now?" "Because we need commanders. Good commanders who understand what is at stake." Vance placed his hand on the hull of the Prometheus Rising. "I am giving you this ship, Captain. When the signal comes, you will lead our vanguard." "What signal?" "The signal that tells us the Council has finally pushed too far. The moment when we have no choice but to reveal what we truly are." As if in answer, alarms began to sound throughout the hangar. Red lights flashed on the walls. Vance pulled out a communication device and listened to the message coming through. His face did not change, but Sarah saw his jaw tighten. "What is it?" she asked. "The Velthari have blockaded Earth's last supply route. They claim it is for security purposes." Vance put the device away. "Without those supplies, Earth's population will begin to starve within 3 months. 8 billion people. Captain. 8 billion of our people." Sarah felt cold fury rise in her chest. "They cannot do that. We have done nothing wrong. They can do whatever they want. They have the power. They have always had the power." Vance walked toward a communication station in the center of the hangar. But power can shift very quickly when you are not paying attention. He activated the station. His image would be broadcast to every screen across the solar system, to every human colony, to every ship in Earth's fleet. "This is Admiral Marcus Vance of Earth Defense Command," he said. His voice was steady and strong. "For 60 years, we have followed the Galactic Council's rules. For 60 years, we have been mocked and humiliated. For 60 years, we have waited." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was like iron. "The waiting is over. To the Galactic Council, your treaties are no longer recognized by the people of Earth. All restrictions are rescinded. All agreements are void. Effective immediately. Thank you for watching. This video are considered live. If you channel Rexity one instance." Sarah watched as the message ended. Around her, the hangar erupted into activity. Crews rushed to their ships. Engines began to power up. The moment they had spent 60 years preparing for had finally arrived. Vance handed her a command chip. "The Prometheus Rising is yours, Captain Chen. Take us to the blockade." Show them what humanity can really do. Sarah took the chip. Her hand was steady. Her heart was pounding. But her mind was clear, for the first time in years. Yes, sir, she said. With pleasure. The Prometheus Rising emerged from quantum-fold space, like a predator stepping out of shadows. Behind Captain Sarah Chen, 20 more human warships appeared in perfect formation. Their hulls were black as night, designed to absorb sensor scans and radar signals. To the enemy, they would seem to appear from nowhere. Sarah stood at the center of her bridge, surrounded by holographic displays showing the space ahead. The Velthari blockade filled her screen. 300 warships, arranged in a massive wall between Earth and its supply routes. Each ship was twice the size of anything humanity had ever built publicly. Each one carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. The Veltari had been so confident, so certain that humanity would never fight back. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Captain, her tactical officer reported. The Velthari commander is hailing us. Put him through. The face of Admiral Torvan appeared on the main screen. He was Velthari, with the same blue skin and 4 arms as the High Speaker. But where the High Speaker had been smug and mocking, Torvan looked amused, like a parent watching a child throw a tantrum. Ah, the humans have arrived, he said. I must admit, your ships are impressive. I did not know you had anything like them. He leaned forward, his multiple eyes narrowing. But you have made a terrible mistake. You have 20 ships. I have 300. Your little rebellion ends here. 18. Anything. With problem. Include. Sarah said nothing. She simply looked at him. Torvan's amusement faded slightly. You are outnumbered 15-1. Surrender now, and I will show mercy. Your crews will be taken prisoner instead of killed. Your species will merely be punished instead of destroyed. We will not be surrendering today, Sarah said calmly. Then, you will die. Perhaps. Sarah nodded to her weapons officer. Or, perhaps you do not understand your situation as well as you think you do. She cut the communication. On her tactical display, the Velthari fleet began to move forward. 300 ships, their weapons charging, their shields at full power. They moved with the confidence of a force that had never known defeat. Activate the scalpel, Sarah ordered. Deep within the Prometheus Rising, a weapon that had taken 40 years to develop came to life. It did not fire missiles or energy beams. It did not explode or burn. Instead, it sent out a pulse of energy that traveled at the speed of light. Invisible and unstoppable. The pulse hit the Velthari fleet. For 1 second, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the Velthari ships went dark. Their engines died. Their weapons powered down. Their shields collapsed. Their lights flickered and disappeared. 300 warships, reduced to drifting metal in 6 seconds. Sarah watched the tactical display update. Enemy vessels. Disabled. Threat level. 0. She felt no joy, no satisfaction. Only a cold determination. Open a channel to the Velthari fleet, she said. Her communication officer nodded. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force, she announced. Her voice was broadcast to every disabled ship in the Velthari fleet. Your vessels have been disabled, but not destroyed. Your life support systems will continue to function for approximately 4 hours. Rescue pods are being deployed to collect your crews. She paused, letting her words sink in. We do not wish to kill you. We never wanted war. But we will no longer accept being treated as lesser beings. We will no longer bow to those who mock us. We will no longer follow treaties that were designed to keep us weak. On the tactical display, she could see Velthari crew members scrambling to escape pods. They were abandoning their ships, fleeing from an enemy they had thought was powerless. You have 1 hour to evacuate your vessels. After that, we proceed to Council space. Any ship that attempts to stop us will be disabled, just as easily as your fleet was today. This is your only warning." She cut the transmission. Around her, her bridge crew sat in stunned silence. They had expected a battle. They had prepared to fight, and perhaps to die. Instead, they had won without firing a single conventional weapon. Lieutenant Commander Park was the first to speak. "Captain, that was 300 ships. We took out 300 ships in 6 seconds. Yes, we did. The Council has over 12,000 ships in their combined fleet." Sarah nodded. "And we have many more scalpels than just one." She turned to face her crew. "For 60 years, we pretended to be weak. We let them laugh at us. Four. Sarah, we let them think we were no threat. That was the plan, and we executed it perfectly." She walked to the main view screen and looked out at the drifting Velthari fleet. Escape pods were launching now, carrying crews to safety. "We did not ask for this fight. We spent 60 years trying to earn our place peacefully. They refused us every time. They mocked us. They stole from us. And now they have tried to starve us." Her voice hardened. "That was their choice. Now, they will live with the consequences." Her communication panel lit up. It was Admiral Vance, calling from Earth Command. "Captain Chen, I have just received word from the Council. They are calling an emergency session. They are demanding that all member species contribute ships to a unified military response against humanity." Sarah felt her heart beat faster, but her voice remained calm. "How many ships?" "They are gathering everything they have. Current estimates suggest 12,000 vessels, the largest fleet ever assembled. 12,000 ships. The full might of 11 spacefaring civilizations, against humanity's hidden fleet of 3,000. When will they be ready?" 3 days. They are gathering at the Carthax relay." Sarah nodded slowly. "Then, that is where we will meet them." "I am coming with you," Vance said. "This will be humanity's defining moment. I will not watch it from a command center." "Understood, Admiral. We will await your arrival." The channel closed. Sarah looked at her tactical display one more time. The Velthari rescue operation was proceeding smoothly. In a few hours, the blockade would be nothing but empty ships floating in space. The first battle was over. Humanity had won easily, almost too easily. But Sarah knew that the real test was still coming. 12,000 ships would not be disabled by a single scalpel pulse. The Council would come with everything they had, and humanity would be waiting for them. "Set a course for the Carthax relay," she ordered. "It is time to show the galaxy who we really are." The Carthax relay was a massive structure floating in empty space, a gateway that connected distant parts of the galaxy. For thousands of years, it had been a symbol of the Council's power. Now, it had become the gathering point for the largest military force in galactic history. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus Rising and counted the ships on her tactical display. 12,347 vessels from 11 different species. The Velthari had sent their entire home fleet. The Keth had brought their famous battle cruisers. The Tauran, the Nexar, the Silith, and 7 other civilizations had contributed everything they had. Against them, humanity had brought 300 ships. The Council fleet commanders were surely laughing. They saw the numbers. They knew the mathematics of war. 300 against 12,000 was not a battle. It was an execution. They had no idea what was really happening. Admiral Vance stood beside Sarah, his face calm and unreadable. He had arrived aboard the Prometheus Rising 6 hours ago. He had spent most of that time in communication with ships that the Council fleet could not detect. "They are hailing us," Sarah's communication officer reported. "Put them through." The main view screen filled with faces. All 11 fleet commanders appeared in a split screen, representing every species in the Council. The Velthari High Speaker stood in the center, his expression furious. "Admiral Vance," the High Speaker spat. You have made the greatest mistake in your species' short history. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Your people will be allowed to live, though you will never again travel beyond your own star system." Vance smiled slightly. "That is a generous offer, but I think I would like to discuss some alternative arrangements." "There are no alternatives. You are outnumbered 40 to 1. Your technology is inferior. Your species is young and foolish. You cannot win this fight." Withers nodders. Withers-esque, perhaps, Vance agreed. "But before we begin killing each other, I would like to request a parley. Face to face. Aboard your flagship." The council commanders looked at each other in confusion. The Keth general let out a rumbling laugh. "You wish to surrender in person? Very well. Come and kneel before us." "Not quite. But I will come. And I will bring Captain Chen with me. Unarmed, of course. You may search us for weapons." The High Speaker studied Vance through the screen. "What game are you playing, human?" "No game. Just a conversation. Surely the mighty Galactic Council is not afraid of two unarmed humans?" The mockery was clear in Vance's voice. The High Speaker's eyes narrowed with anger. But he nodded sharply. "Very well. You will be transported to my flagship immediately. And when you are finished begging for mercy, we will destroy your pathetic fleet." The screen went dark. Sarah turned to Vance with concern. "Admiral, what are you planning?" "The same thing we have been planning for 60 years, Captain." Vance straightened his uniform. "We are going to show them exactly how badly they have underestimated us." 20 minutes later, Sarah and Vance stood in the central chamber of the Velthari flagship. The 11 fleet commanders surrounded them, each one accompanied by armed guards. The High Speaker sat on an elevated throne, looking down at the two humans with undisguised contempt. "Speak your piece," he commanded. "Then we will end this foolishness." Vance pulled a small device from his pocket. Several guards raised their weapons, but Vance held up his hand peacefully. "It is only a data projector. Nothing more. 3 sigs is to 5. Lost har. I2 versigs. Nothing more." He activated the device. Holographic images filled the chamber. "For 60 years, Vance began, humanity has been watching you. All of you." The images showed Council military installations, secret bases, hidden weapons factories, classified research facilities. The commanders shifted uncomfortably as they recognized their own secrets being displayed. "We mapped every defense grid in your territories. We recorded every fleet movement. We documented every violation of your own laws that you committed while lecturing us about following treaties." The images changed. Now, they showed documents, secret agreements between council members, trade deals that violated their own regulations, conspiracy to keep humanity weak, plans to eventually destroy human civilization entirely once it was no longer useful. "You thought we were blind," Vance continued. "You thought we were stupid. You saw us follow your rules, and you assumed we were obedient little pets." His voice hardened. "We were watching. We were learning. We were preparing." The High Speaker stood from his throne. "Enough of this nonsense. Even if you have gathered intelligence, it changes nothing. You still cannot defeat our fleet. That is where you are wrong." Vance smiled again, and this time there was something dangerous in it. "Captain Chen, please contact our hidden forces." Sarah activated a communicator on her wrist. "Attention all Prometheus vessels. Reveal positions." Throughout the space around the Carthax relay, ships began to appear. They emerged from hollowed-out asteroids, from behind moons, from the shadows of gas giants. 3,000 warships, each one equipped with weapons the Council had never seen. The commanders watched their tactical displays with growing horror. "That is only the beginning," Vance said. "For the past 60 years, we have been planting monitoring devices in every system you control. Communication networks, power grids, defense systems. All of them are connected to our central command. All of them. He pulled out another device and held it up. One signal from me, and your governments lose access to their own infrastructure. Your fleets cannot coordinate. Your economies collapse. Your populations panic. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. We did not build a fleet to defeat you in battle. We built a network to defeat you without fighting at all. Silence filled the chamber. The 11 commanders looked at each other, searching for some answer, some way out of the trap they had walked into. The High Speaker's face had gone pale. You are bluffing, am I? Vance nodded to Sarah. She pressed a button on her communicator. Across the Velthari flagship, lights flickered. Systems stuttered. For just 3 seconds, the entire ship went dark before power returned. That was a demonstration, Vance said calmly. A small one. Would you like a larger one? The High Speaker sat down slowly. His 4 hands were trembling. What do you want? He asked quietly. The same thing we have always wanted. Respect. Equality. A seat at the table. Full membership in the Galactic Council with all rights and privileges. Vance stepped forward, his eyes meeting the High Speaker's. We do not want war. We never wanted war. But if you force us to fight, we will not fight fair. We never could afford to. The Keth general spoke up, his voice uncertain. And if we refuse? Then every system in your territory goes dark tonight. Your people will learn just how dependent they have become on technology that we now control. Vance shrugged. We will not kill anyone unless you force us to. But we will make it very clear who holds the real power in this galaxy. He turned and looked at each commander in turn. You laughed at us for 60 years. You called us primitive. You called us accidents. You thought your power made you superior. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. Power is not about numbers. It is about preparation, about patience, about waiting for exactly the right moment. He spread his arms wide. This is that moment. Choose wisely. The vote took 3 days. 7 species accepted humanity's terms within the first 12 hours. The Tauren were first, their ambassador practically running to sign the agreement. The Nexar followed, then the Silith, then 4 others. They had seen the demonstration on the Velthari flagship. They had watched their own communication systems flicker and die for those 3 terrifying seconds. They understood what humanity could do. And they wanted no part of a war they could not win. The remaining 4 species held out longer. The Velthari refused to believe their empire could be threatened by beings they had mocked for 60 years. The Keth were too proud to surrender without a fight. The other 2 simply did not want to admit they had been wrong. Captain Sarah Chen gave them a week. Then she led a demonstration that ended all remaining resistance. The Keth Dominion had the most powerful orbital defense grid in the galaxy. Thousands of weapons platforms surrounded their home world, each one capable of destroying a warship with a single shot. They had spent centuries building it. They believed it made them unconquerable. Sarah disabled the entire grid in 4 minutes without firing a single weapon. She simply sent a signal, and every platform went dark. The Keth watched in horror as their greatest achievement became worthless metal floating in space. Their communications went silent. Their sensors went blind. For 1 hour, the mighty Keth Dominion was completely helpless. Then Sarah restored everything and sent a simple message. We can do this whenever we want. Please reconsider your position. The Keth surrendered the next morning. The Velthari followed that afternoon. By the end of the week, every species in the Galactic Council had accepted humanity as a full member. The celebrations on Earth lasted for days. People danced in the streets of every city. They cried tears of joy. They hugged strangers and shouted at the sky. For 60 years, they had lived under the shadow of alien contempt. Now, they were free. Admiral Marcus Vance did not celebrate. He stood alone in his office at Earth Command, looking out at the city lights below. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. Now that it had arrived, he felt only exhaustion. A knock came at his door. Sarah Chen entered, wearing a new uniform. The rank insignia on her collar had changed. She was no longer a captain. "Admiral Chen," Vance said with a slight smile. "How does it feel?" "Strange," Sarah admitted. "I never expected any of this." Spard. 2. No one did. That was the point. Vance turned back to the window. "I am retiring next month. The president asked me to choose my replacement as commander of the fleet." 1. Sarah stood beside him, looking out at the same lights. "I assume you have someone in mind." "I do." Vance reached into his desk and pulled out a small box. Inside was a new insignia. Grand Admiral, the highest rank in Earth's military, created specifically for this moment. "I chose you. I chose you." Sarah stared at the insignia. "Sir, I am not ready for this. I was a ship captain 3 weeks ago. You were the captain who fired the first shot. You were the one who disabled the Velthari blockade. You led the fleet to Carthax. You brought the Keth to their knees." Vance pressed the box into her hands. "You are exactly what humanity needs right now. A symbol. A leader. Someone who represents everything we have become." "And what have we become, sir?" Vance considered the question for a long moment. "We have become what we always were, but were afraid to show. Strong. Clever. Patient. Dangerous when threatened." He smiled sadly. "The council thought they were teaching us our place. Instead, they taught us to survive, to plan, to wait for the right moment. They created exactly what they feared." Sarah looked at the Grand Admiral insignia in her hands. It was heavy, heavier than she expected. The weight of responsibility. The weight of 8 billion people depending on her to lead them into this new age. "What if I fail?" she asked quietly. "Then you will learn from your mistakes and try again. That is what humans do." Vance put his hand on her shoulder. "We spent 60 years being underestimated. You can handle a few more centuries." Vance. As one. 1 month later, Grand Admiral Sarah Chen walked into the Galactic Council chamber. The same chamber where humanity had been mocked and rejected so many times. The same seats where alien representatives had laughed at Earth's petitions. No one was laughing now. The 11 other species sat in silence as Sarah took her place at the council table. For the first time in history, a human had a seat in this room. A vote. A voice. Equal standing with civilizations that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. The Velthari High Speaker called the session to order. His voice was quiet now. Respectful. The mockery was gone from his eyes. Replaced by something that might have been fear. "The Council recognizes the representative from Earth," he said formally. "Grand Admiral Sarah Chen." Sarah stood. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each representative in turn. Some looked away. Others held her gaze with new respect. A few still seemed resentful, but they kept their thoughts to themselves. 60 years ago, Sarah began. Humanity came to this council asking for a place among the stars. We were denied. We were told we were not ready. We were told we needed to prove ourselves. She paused, letting the memory of those humiliations hang in the air. "We spent 60 years proving ourselves. Not the way you expected. Not by following your rules and hoping for your approval. We proved ourselves by becoming something you could not ignore, something you could not dismiss, something you had to respect. Ranat. Well, my sign. Ranat." Her voice grew stronger. "We did not want war. We still do not want war. But we will never again accept being treated as lesser beings. We will never again bow to those who mock us. We will never again follow treaties designed to keep us weak." She took her seat at the table, the seat humanity had built for itself through decades of patience and preparation. "We are here now. We are equals. and we intend to be good partners to those who treat us fairly." Her eyes hardened slightly. "But we have long memories, and we have learned to be patient." The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, the Tauran representative began to applaud. Others joined in, one by one, until even the Velthari High Speaker was clapping politely. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. It was not triumph, she felt. It was something quieter, deeper. Satisfaction. Humanity had earned its place, not through begging or pleading, but through strength and wisdom and 60 years of careful planning. After the session, she returned to the Prometheus Rising. The ship that had carried her through humanity's greatest test was now her flagship. She stood on the bridge and looked out at the stars. Those stars no longer seemed cold and distant. They seemed like possibilities, like destinations waiting to be explored, like a future that humanity would now help to shape. Her communication panel lit up. A message from Earth. It was from the children at a school in Beijing, asking if they could name a star after her. Sarah laughed softly. She was not a hero. She was just a woman who had been in the right place at the right time, with the right ship and the right weapons. But she was also something more now. She was proof that humanity would never be dismissed again, never be underestimated, never be mocked. She typed a reply to the children. "You can name it whatever you want. The stars belong to all of us. Now." Then Grand Admiral Sarah Chen turned her attention to the reports waiting on her desk. There was much work to be done. Humanity had taken its place among the stars. Now they had to prove they deserved it. Not through fear, not through threats, but through the same qualities that had brought them this far: patience, preparation, and the unshakable belief that they were worth something. The galaxy had laughed at Earth. Now Earth sat at the table, and the laughter had stopped forever.